Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jerick Show. Today is a very serious episode where we talk about breaches, more breaches, and why MFA is not all that it's cracked up to be. Welcome to the Jerick Show.
Welcome to the Jerick Show, featuring your hosts, Javvad Malik and Eric Krohn. Timely topics, poorly presented.
Well, we are talking about big breaches, and I cannot lie. Also, we're talking about why certain security controls might be pretty useless. Speaking of big things that are useless, Eric Krohn, how you doing, sir?
Did you just do a, I like big breaches and I cannot lie? Did you really throw some mix-a-lot in there, man? Brilliant. Well done. I'll give you credit for that. That was actually pretty well done.
Well, I take it you are far more cultured than I initially thought you were. So kudos on picking up the reference.
Something like that. So, no, I'm obviously I'm not in my studio today. How about that?
Yes.
Yeah,
You look like
slightly.
you're in the back of one of those vans that says free candy on the outside.
There was absolutely free candy involved, and I'm getting it, and you aren't. So, ha ha ha. No, I'm actually out at our property, taking the day out here, getting some stuff done. After work, we're going to stay for the weekend, and said, you know what? I think I can do the show from out there. I think we have video still of you on the tractor out here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. And I still think you're really missing a trick by not going full on Terminator style automation, like, automating your tractor, giving it like chainsaw robotic arms, going through clearing up your whole thing really quickly, then turns into a sentry bot at night patrolling the perimeter. I really think
What could possibly go wrong with all that?
Nothing at all.
Sure. I don't even trust those. Like I think it's Husqvarna has the robotic lawnmower, and I just can't imagine that. I'm sorry.
Such a like backwards person. What's the point in spending your entire life and career in tech only to revert into like an Amish person, I suppose?
Having spent my entire life in tech, that's why I don't trust things like that.
I don't know.
Speaking of not trusting things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you trust AT&T with your data? That's the question.
Yeah, this is a big one. I just started seeing about this morning quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like, ouch.
Yeah. It's only about 110 million customers, according to some. The BBC is saying 73 million, so a lot less.
Lowballing it.
Yeah. So it only included addresses, social security numbers, and passcodes. There was a whole ton of metadata. Allegedly in it. Even the cell tower numbers, which triangulate you, so you could pretty much pick up the general area where someone's in.
Yeah.
Which is not good if you're like someone that's just escaped maybe a physically abusive relationship, or you're an informant for the FBI and you don't want your ex-cartel friends to know where you are, or a whole host of other things. It's
the good news is it was a while ago when this was dropped. It was like 2022, I think, is when they got that information, and it was mostly metadata, but there was metadata about all the call records related to calls and text messages as well. I'm not seeing it in this story, but there are definitely stories out there talking about that.
Yeah, there was another story. Where did I see it? I think it was on
this
the
isn't
register.
Really telling the whole story here. Yeah.
No.
No, there's your 110 million, right? There.
Yeah. No, there was another story I saw that had more details on it. Let me see. It's over here.
Indeed.
Poorly presented. We're living up to our name right now. Just reading the
we
stories as we go along.
absolutely
No,
are.
this one. This is the one. So
Yeah.
some AT&T, some of the stolen data contains more recent records from 23.
Right.
It does not contain the content of calls or text, but does include calling and texting records and
Right.
a total count of the numbers, calls, text, and duration. It
So,
also
I mean,
includes cell site identification numbers associated with the phone calls and text messages that can be used to determine the approximate location of where a call was made or a text message sent.
so yeah, you look at this and you go, what could be the big deal? But if you start taking this information, and let's say I want to spoof a number and try to scam somebody or something along those lines, I'm going to pick the one that they talk to quite a bit or something along those lines. There's a lot of interesting things you could kind of put together from this information that a lot of people don't think about. But this is a lot of data that went out.
Yeah. And I remember years ago when the whole thing about metadata first started coming out. There was a good example on one of these websites, and it said like, okay, someone's a counselor or whatever, whatever, that they made a call to a sexual health clinic. It lasted for 2 minutes, but you don't know the contents of the call. Then you see they made a call to the suicide prevention line while near the Golden Gate Bridge, but you don't know what the call was about. Then you saw that they made a 30-second call to their wife. It's kind of like, it doesn't take a genius to piece together what's happening kind of here, or you can draw some strong assumptions, and then even that information can be used to blackmail people or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, look at what happened with Ashley Madison and stuff. Let's say somebody gets a hold of these records and wants to see what their husband or other half has been calling and talking to. And I mean, that's not probably going to happen, but it very well could. It's just a lot of information that's pretty sensitive floating around out there.
Yeah, but don't worry about that, because 73 to 110 million, what's that compared
You got
to
to pump those
10
numbers up.
billion? 10 billion with a B stolen passwords were leaked on a hacker forum. Is that just basically every combination there is for like whatever, I don't know, most people, for the average person?
Yeah, it's practically the rainbow table, right? You just everything that could be. This is big. So this is an update to one that was a couple of years ago. I think it was a Rocky 2022.
Yeah.
So this is an update to that, but it's made up of data from like 4,000 breaches, something along those lines. It is an absolute ton of breaches. But here's the problem. This is where credential stuffing comes in.
Yep.
So there's software out there that essentially you can take this list and point the software to it and say, have at it. And it's going to try those credential pairs everywhere. It's going to try it at the banks. It's going to try it in all those kinds of places. So credential stuffing is a really big deal that a lot of people don't give it credit for, but it works very well because people reuse passwords.
That's right. They sure do. But
you of course wouldn't.
Me? No, I've had one golden password since 2003. So that's my golden password that no one will ever guess.
Great. And that's on everything?
That's on all my high profile accounts.
Is it?
For my throwaway accounts, I just use I forgot my password every time and just set a new password. I think that's the most secure way.
That's brilliant. Nobody knows my password, not even me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
You have to go there, put in my email address, and then say I forgot my password. And that's the only way you have a chance of actually resetting the password and logging on.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't take any of this as actual advice from Javvad. Do not follow his. I remember the one that you had too, where you were like, you know what, this phishing thing, I'm just going to have all of my emails forwarded to the is this a phishing email address and have them tell me whether or not it is. Not brilliant.
Oh.
Wow.
James.
Wow, James.
Was that in the Rocky 24 breach?
It's
He did say he
Why would you
downloaded.
post such a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, he did. He did. He downloaded all of it.
Yeah.
And I understand he's going through it line by line at this point. He should be done in about 4 years, I understand.
Yeah. Don't tell him any sort of like analysis tools exist. We like to see him go through it line by line.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a pretty big one. That's a lot of data being dumped out there. Yeah, 145 gig file.
Wow. That's like the next Call of Duty update that I get on my PlayStation.
You know what though, man? I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to throw out my old age here.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I remember the old days where, I mean, a 10 gig hard drive was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, how am I ever going to fill this up? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
I know.
Even before that, man, I mean, I'm from the old days of the big floppy disks, if you
Yep.
remember those.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
We're
All
getting
right.
old, man. We need to retire. It's time to retire, I think. What do you think?
I would love to retire to a farm, but I would only do so like if it looks like very plain on the outside, but completely automated on the underside. So I can have like those robotic chainsaw wielding arm lawnmowers going out, cutting the hedges and everything. That's the only way I could do it. That's what I would call retirement.
Oh, Lord
Okay,
have mercy.
so
All right. So this was
Singapore,
your story.
yeah. So Singapore's
Yeah.
banks to ditch texted one-time passwords. Accessibility be damned, preventing phishing is the priority, as it should be. But this was really interesting because I thought like the Singaporean banks, the Association of Banks, they said that they're going to phase out the use of one-time passwords. And their hope is to better protect against phishing, or at least against the attacks in which scammers trick their customers into disclosing their one-time password.
Now I'll say this: if you read that though, it says they're going to phase it out for bank account login by customers who are digital token users. So it's not saying everybody, is it?
It's not saying everybody. So I think if they can't do everybody, it just wouldn't be practical.
Yeah. I mean,
But
are we
if you've
talking
got-
like UB keys? Is that what they're saying by digital tokens, you think?
I think it's an app. It's basically a soft token on your app that changes. So
Yeah,
it's
okay.
authenticator app basically.
Gotcha. All right.
Which I think is a really good way to go about it, because I mean I've always said like text-based is it's not even a second factor, it's like two-step more than anything. But
It's two-step. It is. Yeah. No, and that's true.
But I think what this really underlines is that it doesn't matter what you do. If there's a way for criminals to interject themselves into it, and because a text message is something you receive, and what they normally do is they'll get on a call with you because they've found your password from the Rocky breach or something like that, and they know as soon as they go to log in and they hit enter, it's going to send you a text message. So they'll call you up first and say, "Hey, we're calling from the bank. We're about to send you a text message to verify it's you because there's been some fraudulent activity. Can you read it out?" And then they hit login and they get the text message. And even though that text message says at the bottom, normally for most banks, it says like, "Do not disclose this to anyone," people, they think that they're speaking to the bank, so they will tell them what that is. That gets a lot more difficult to do when you've got an app on your phone, authenticator app, there where the numbers change every 60 seconds. That, "Hey, I'm the bank. I need you to tell me what your code is." They're like, "Well, how do I know it's you?" That fact that they can push and generate that text message to get sent to your phone adds that added layer of authenticity. And I think this is an aspect that a lot of times security professionals overlook, the human side or the usability or the mindset when creating controls, because it could be a great control, but if it's not understandable or easily used by criminals to fool people, then it's not much good.
I tend to agree with you on that. Now, I will say this. I think that SMS is better than nothing at all if people don't use it as a crutch. because this is what I've seen people say. They're like, oh, well, I can reuse the same password over and over again because I have MFA. Isn't that secure? No, no, that's a very bad habit. It's not a crutch to fix using a poor or weak password. That's my caveat on that one. So
Mm.
I would love to see more people use app type stuff or even like YubiKeys, or I have a Fiatin key here that's awesome too. Um, the problem with those is if you set them up and go out of town and don't bring your keys with you, or bring your significant other's keys or something like that because you happen to take their car to the airport, it
Yep,
does add some minor issues if you
it does.
if you don't have a way in. So
It does. And so many people have challenges when they say upgrade their phone and the authenticator app doesn't automatically sometimes port all of your codes over. So then,
yeah,
and then you've wiped your old phone or you've lost it. And then you have to go through this painstaking process of setting it up all again. And it's
yep.
that point that people say, you know what? Let's just forget about that. It's easier for me to just leave that features turned off.
It
But
comes back to the friction. It comes back to how much friction there is in doing it. And if people understand why it's so important to actually enable it. Because if people don't understand at all, then any amount of friction in the process is going to turn them off. But if they go, you know what, this is makes me 90% less likely to have my stuff taken over and my bank account drained, well, then maybe that 30 seconds or so it takes to do that will make more sense to them.
yeah, yeah, and it's kind of like it's been a quite a rapid shift for people as well. I mean, like like they say, like if you back when you were young, you probably remember like not having to lock your doors at night, and you could leave the car running while you went into the shops, and like people could probably remember there was a time when I didn't have to worry about multi-factor authentication to secure
Yeah.
my accounts. They were all just secure, or like SQL injection will get you into my account anyway, or a bit of URL tampering. So why even bother with a strong password? And now that's all changed. We're in a different world now.
We are. And you know what? It has moved very quickly. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember, but I remember times when there was a like low maximum number of characters in a password, like
Yes,
maximum of 8 characters,
yes,
right? And you're like, oh my gosh, this is still very secure. And
yeah,
that's like 20 seconds on a good cracker these days.
yeah.
It's just pointless at that point. But it's moved very quickly, and my heart does go out to those folks that may not be very technically astute, if you will, and it gets frustrating for them to try to keep up with this stuff.
It does, it does. Um, but what can you do? That's the nature of technology. The beast, it keeps on growing, and you either end up adopting it, or you just like say, forget that, I'm out of here, and go live on a farm somewhere, and just resort back to hand tools.
I'm not going to have a mower with blades on it. I'll tell you that much. You're not talking me into that.
Then I've got no use for you then. So we're on that terrible disappointment. We'll see you again next week. Stay secure, my friends.